Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video we are doing one of the last couple of videos I said I wanted to do, and that is the end of year book tag. I really wanted to do this because I just really wanted to wrap up my year of reading. So yeah, let's get into it. This is a video that I think I did last year. I think I most definitely did this at the end of last year, and it's a video that I originally saw Larry do, and obviously I just had to do it myself just because I think it's a very fun way to wrap up the year and answer some questions about all the books that I've read. Okay, so I have the list of questions on my iPad. I did take out a couple of the questions just because I genuinely didn't have answers to any of them, and also I changed one of the questions a little bit just because I had an answer to the question if it was done in a opposite way to how it was phrased, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So yeah, let's go through this list. So the first one is most disappointing book of the year. So my most disappointing book of the year probably has to be Trust Me Always by Megan Brandy. I was genuinely so excited for this book. This book follows two characters that I loved in the first two books in the Boys of Avix series. This book follows Cam and Brady, who I really loved in the first two books in this series, but for me this one genuinely, it just really got on my nerves. That this book just, it had some like fun bantery moments, yeah, but it just felt very same to the other books in the series. Like, I was just genuinely really frustrated with this book when I was reading it. I just genuinely wasn't having a good time, and like, I love Cam and Brady as characters, but this book just didn't feel like them properly, and I was expecting to love this book and give it like at least a 4 or a 5 star. I ended up giving this a 1.5 star, which is sadly very disappointing for me because I was really excited about this book, but you know, it happens sometimes. But yeah, that was definitely my most disappointing read of the year, just because I was genuinely so excited about this book and it just really let me down. Okay, so question number 2, what was your underdog book of the year? And the way I'm interpreting this question is, what is a book that I basically didn't expect to love as much as I did? And that, if I got this wrong, then oh well, I'm just stupid anyway. The book I went with is The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. I did not expect to love this book as much as I did when I read it. Like, when I read this, I expected this to just be an average, run-of-the-mill, 3-star romance. I devoured this book so quickly. This book is so fun and whimsical and funny and cute, and just, I love everything about this book, that I genuinely haven't stopped thinking about it since I read it. I've genuinely just really loved this book, and I guess this would be my underdog book of the year, just because I did not expect to love this book at all. I genuinely just expected me to read it and then move on and never think about it again. I was severely wrong. And if I've answered that question wrong, oh well, I'm just a girl.
I'm just a baby.
Okay, up next we have, what was an overhyped book you read? Now, this may upset a couple of people. An overhyped book that I read that I genuinely just did not enjoy that much and I did not see the hype around is Love Like Farms. I know a lot of people love this book and love this series by B.K. Borison, and I still am tempted to read the next book in this series just because I have a bit more interest in the couple in the next book than I did in this one. But I just felt nothing for these characters. Like, I wasn't attached to the main characters of the story. I wasn't attached to their love story. I had more interest in the side characters who only showed up in a few scenes than I did the main couple in this book. I was just kind of bored for the majority of it, and I just finished it for the sake of finishing it. This is coming up in a reading vlog that I'm doing, but you won't be seeing that for a long time, so you'll probably forget about my rating by the time that video comes out. But yeah, no, I gave this like a 2.5 stars. I just genuinely didn't enjoy it as much as I hoped I would. I was just a little bit bored. Everyone really hyped about this book, and like people seem to love Love Like Farms. I personally just found it a little bit lacking. Nothing against BK Borison or her writing. The writing was beautiful. The writing was really good. It's just I had no connection to the characters whatsoever. And I was just a little bit bored by the end of it. So that is sadly the overhyped book that I read for this year. Okay, up next we have a book that surprised me. And that definitely has to be The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. Now, as you guys know, I am very much a big romance and fantasy reader. I don't really tend to stray from those genres. I have read a couple of like mystery thrillers because I read the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, but I didn't expect to actually enjoy thriller books. The way I goddamn devoured this book, absolute instant 5-star. I loved this book so much. It had me on my toes constantly. I loved the characters. I loved the plot twist at the end. Genuinely, I did not see the ending of this book coming. And I just, I loved it so much. Genuinely, I was so obsessed with it that I cannot wait for the movie of this book to come out because me and my mum are going to see it in the new year. I just genuinely, this book surprised me so much. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. I expected to enjoy it, but the way that this was an instant 5-star to me the second I finished it, I had to go and talk to my mum about it just because I was so in love with it. So yeah, this is definitely the book that surprised me this year. Now, up next, we have my favourite book couples of the year. Whew, well, this is probably going to take me a while. Just because there were so many good books that I read this year, and I just have so many favourite book couples that it's going to take me a minute just to think of all of them. Okay, so there's been so many book couples who I loved this year, but honestly, I'm just going to ramble off all of them that I want to say right now. So first up, we have the couples from the Playing for Keeps series by Becca Mack. Freaking editing Natalie coming in here just to correct myself. Jenny and Garrett. Because I said Garrett's name wrong. I said a different name. I'm not leaving that clip in because I'm not embarrassing myself on the internet more than I normally do. Apparently when I start filming a video, I forget what words are. Yeah, Jenny and Garrett. Adam and Rosie, Jackson and Lennon, Cara and Emmett. Those couples, genuinely, each and every one of them just has a special place in my heart, especially Cara and Emmett, because I just finished reading Breathe With Me very, very recently. That'll be coming in a vlog very soon. And just the pure love those characters have for each other genuinely makes my heart feel so much love and joy. Then obviously we have Rio and Hallie from Rewind It Back by Liz Tom Ford, which is the last book in the Windy City series. You guys know my love for the Windy City series. I absolutely ate up Rewind It Back. It was genuinely just so freaking good. I loved it so much. I love those characters and just them together. Oh, mwah, chef's kiss. Then obviously we have Rowan and Aelin from the Throne of Glass series. Oh, my babies. Just genuinely adore them. Lizzie and Huey from Releasing 10. Freaking just, okay. Technically I didn't read this for the first time this year, but I reread it, so I'm going to say Johnny and Shannon just because I love Johnny and Shannon so freaking much. I reread Binding 13 at the start of this year, and it got me out of a reading slump, so I feel like they deserve, you know, a spot in the Hall of Fame. Then we have like Kat and Liam from the Reno. Just genuinely, so many couples, like I can't even name them all. I read so many good romance books this year that I'm genuinely, all of them just warm my heart. Like Lily and Belef from For Whom the Bell Tolls by JC Lynn. That couple, I just keep looking at my books because I'm emotional over these couples because I love them with my entire heart and soul. Yeah. Oh, and I also forgot to mention Xaden and Violet from Fourth Wing. Obviously, they're a favourite couple as well. Genuinely just, I can't keep naming them because I'll be sat here for like 50 million years naming all my favourite couples. So yeah, up next we have your favourite main characters of the year. So let's have a little think, because I know I have just like a list of so many of my favourite main characters of this year. Okay, so to start off with a couple of my favourite ones that I've read for this year, I obviously have to say Aelin from Throne of Glass. Genuinely, I just love her so much. She's such a powerful character, and I love the Throne of Glass book so much. I finished that series at the start of this year, and Aelin has to be a top character every time for me. Honestly, Lizzie in Releasing 10. Lizzie, I didn't really particularly like her character all that much in the other books, just because she hurt people's feelings a lot of the time. But after reading her book, the amount of love and protectiveness I feel for Lizzie is genuinely just out of this world. Then we have Cara and Emmett in Breathe With Me. Those two main characters in that book, oh, my heart was bleeding for them. If you've read Breathe With Me by Becca Mack, you know and you understand why. Then we have all of the main characters in the Windy City series, but specifically for this year, Rio, because I read Rewind It Back when it came out. Getting to know more about Rio's character, it just opens up my heart so much. I love Rio with every fibre of my being, and finally getting to have his story just warmed my little book nerd heart. I love him with every part of me, and they were just such good character. He was such a good character, and I loved getting to see all my other favourite characters on books. And then a character who I already kind of had an attachment to from the TikTok series, but Lily from For Whom the Bell Tolls. I love the Hell's Bell series on TikTok. It's by JC Lynn, or See You Later on TikTok. I genuinely love her series Hell's Bells, and the book For Whom the Bell Tolls is the prequel to that series, and it's like you got to see Lily's story, and I just love her with every fibre of my being. I love that book so much. And it's just such a good book. So she was definitely one of my favourite main characters of the year. And then we have Kat Williams from The Reno by Maggie Grant, which is actually now called Fix Them Up, because the copy I have is the indie published version of the book, but it's now been trad published and the name has changed to Fix Them Up. But I just related to Kat with every fibre of my being. Like I was basically her. The way she interacts with people and how she feels, and how sometimes life just like so overwhelming for her, and just like the way her character is described, and not just how she looks, because we have a very similar look. She's a curvy redhead with curly hair, but also just like her personality and her like little attributes and her little quirky things that she does. Genuinely, I've not related to a character so much as I did with that character. And even though I have so many more favourite ones, those are the ones that are coming to mind right now that I've just genuinely like stuck in my brain. Up next, we have new favourite author you discovered this year. Now, this one is a very popular author, but this is a new to me author, because I'd never read a book by this author before. But we have Abby Jimenez. I've read 2 of her books this year, and genuinely, I've just really loved her writing. I've loved these books. Neither of them have been a 5-star for me yet, but they've both been very close. I love her writing. I love the characters. They're so easy to read, and I genuinely just feel like I just want to read more of her books. I have one that I already have on my shelf, which is Just for the Summer. And then I also picked up Say You'll Remember Me recently from the works. And that's just because genuinely I just started reading her books this year, and I've genuinely just really enjoyed them. I'm hoping to get a 5-star soon, but even if I don't, I still want to read her books just because they're so easy to read, they're so fun, and I just love the characters so much. Up next, we have an author that didn't work out for you this year, and sadly for me, that is Hannah Bonham Young. I read Out on a Limb last year, and as you guys know, that was one of my all-time favourite books last year. It was in my like top 2 books of the year. I love Out on a Limb with every fibre of my being. It's one of my favourite books that I've read. But the other books that I've read by Hannah Bonham Young this year, I just have not enjoyed them as much. I think all of them got like no more than like a 3.5. So I read Next of Kin and Next to You, as well as Out of the Woods by her, and I think I gave this one a 3-star or a 3.5. I'll put it on the screen what I rated all of them, but none of them have given me that same feeling that Out on a Limb did. Like, I was so excited to read Out of the Woods because this is obviously the like sequel to Out on a Limb, and then I was excited to read Next of Kin and Next to You, but just something about these books just didn't do what Out on a Limb did to me. It didn't suck me into the story. It didn't make me think, oh my god, I can't put this down. I was just kind of there for it, and they were fine, they were good, they were very good, simple little romance books, but they just didn't have that same feeling for me, which obviously I was like a little disappointed about, but you can't always get 5 stars from every author that you like. Okay, up next we have what is the happiest book you've read this year, and I've slowly realised that a lot of the books I read this year aren't happy books. Because this book took me way too long to figure out, because most of the books that I read this year, even though they have happy endings, have some form of grief or trauma or death in them. So no, even though this one does have like some like sad things in it, it's the happiest out of the bunch. So I went with The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. I read this in like August? No, not August. October, I think. Yeah, I read this in like October. It was good. It was fun. It was cute. It was a little quirky, witchy romance book. I had a fun time with it, and even though some weird stuff happens in this book, this is definitely the happiest out of all the books that I've read this year, because most of them have made me want to cry. I'm realising I have very depressing taste, okay? Up next, we have the saddest book you read this year, and there's no question of what the saddest book I read this year was. Releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh. Chloe, why did you have to do us like that with this book? This book was so goddamn heartbreaking. Everything that happened in this book just...
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine. But you just...
I've not stopped thinking about this book since I read it, just because of how much I think about it all the time. This book is just genuinely so heartbreaking, and definitely with this one, with the Boys of Tommen series, if you want to read this series, check your trigger warnings, because this book series has a very lot of dark, triggering topics in it, and they're all real life things that happen every day, but they are very dark and hard to handle topics for a lot of people. So if you want to read this series, check your trigger warnings, especially before you read this book, because this one is definitely the hardest out of the series to read, in my opinion, because so much happens in this book that genuinely just makes you want to curl up into a ball and cry. And I love this book so much, and it's definitely the saddest book that I read this entire year. Okay, so up next on our list of questions is a book you haven't stopped thinking about, and there's a few books on this list that I can answer this question with. First up, we have The Glimmer and Gleam Duet by Blake Black. This duet was so goddamn good. I read this duet for a video that you guys would have seen on my channel. And it was a book duet that Em recommended to me. It's a reverse harem romance. And I have not stopped thinking about this duet since I read it. It's literally gone into my god tier books just because of how much I love it and I love these characters. I've not stopped thinking about it since I've read it, and it's genuinely just on my mind all the time. And I need the physical copy so I can have the trophies on my shelf, because I don't have them yet. I will be buying them at some point. I need to stop buying books though, because I calculated how much I spent on books in the last 2 months. I'm ashamed of myself. We're not going to talk about it. But yeah, no, I've not stopped thinking about that duet since I read it. It's just so freaking good, and I love it with every fibre of my being. I think I also just have to say, like, the Throne of Glass series, I read the last 3 books in that series at the start of this year, and they've been on my mind ever since. Releasing 10 another one that's just been on my mind ever since. There's just so many good books that I've just read this year that I haven't been able to stop thinking about, but those are the ones that come like straight to mind when I think about them, because they're just genuinely some of the best books I've read. Okay, so for this next question, it was, what is an unpopular book you loved? But I could not think of any unpopular books that I've loved this year. Like, there's some not relatively known books that I've loved this year, but there's none that I've read that were like unpopular ones that I loved. So I changed this question around to a popular book that I was just meh about. Now, please do not get mad at me in the comments. We have Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Now, let me explain myself before you all try to crucify me. I still enjoyed this book, and I gave it a 4-star. However, to me, this was very much a filler book in the series. I felt like for the majority of this book, like 70 to like 80% of it was just filler world building stuff, and that is fine. We need world building kind of stuff, but this one, like, a lot of people really loved this one, and I loved the ending. Do not get me wrong, I loved the ending. If it hadn't been for the ending, this book probably would have been like a 3.5 for me, but the ending saved it and made it a 4-star. But because the majority of this book was so slow and it wasn't very, like, a lot of stuff didn't really happen, it was just a lot of like world building and like everyday character stuff, I was just a little bit bored for some of it. And this book took me way longer to read than I thought it was going to. And I understand a lot of people love this book. I get it. I get a lot of people love Onyx Storm. But for me, this book just wasn't as good as a lot of people say. That's just personal preference. Reading is subjective. Not everyone likes the same things at the same time. I just personally found that this book, even though it was good and I enjoyed it and I am going to be continuing the Fourth Wing series, I don't think this book is as good as the first two, because I definitely preferred Fourth Wing and Iron Flame a lot more than I enjoyed Onyx Storm. Okay, up next we have a book you thought you'd love but didn't. I've talked about this book enough, but I'm still going to say it. We have Close Protection by, I think it's Eden Victoria. I have no freaking clue. I can't remember. I sold the book. But when I picked up this book and I read the synopsis of this and I saw the cover, I was like, this sounds great. Bodyguard romance. Like, he's kind of grumpy. She's kind of sunshiny. Sounds great, right? Sounds exactly like my kind of book. Twisted Games by Anna Huang. I absolutely love that book. When I tell you I despise this book with every fibre of my soul. Now, I DNF'd this book originally, but then I forced myself to read the rest of it because I suffered through like most of that book and I wanted to add it to my reading goal. Genuinely, this book was just dull. The characters had insta-love between them. They were instantly just like, oh my god, this person is amazing. They'd met for 20 minutes and they were thinking about how hot it would be to kiss each other. Like, I don't mind insta-lust, okay? That happens, especially in like very spicy romances. But this one, it was just frustrating, and like, he was her bodyguard. But what protecting was he doing? He did not protect her. It was called Close Protection. He was not close enough to protect her from anything. I'm losing my mind. There was also a High School Musical reference and a Troy Bolton quote. Like, don't get me wrong, I love High School Musical. I've rewatched the High School Musical movies way too many times. But I just didn't expect to see that in the book. And it just felt very out of place. I mean, honestly, that quote was probably one of the only things I semi-enjoyed about the book. But yeah, no need to go on about that book anymore. Let's move on. Up next, we have book with the most unique concept you read this year. 100% For Whom the Bell Tolls by J.C. Lynn. I've mentioned this book enough time in this videos. I can't English anymore. In this video, this book. So, the concept of this book is about a character named Lily who passes away and she ends up in the afterlife. And she basically ends up working in hell as a customer service person. She sits behind a desk and does what every person who's ever worked in retail wants to do. She gives shit to Karens. And I love that. I love the concept of this book. It's about a woman who finds a home in hell. Because, you know, everything about this book just makes me so happy. Like, maybe I love it so much because I already had a connection to the characters from watching the series on TikTok. But just... it's got a badass woman who works in hell, beats up dead souls because she finds it fun, and then falls for a sexy demon. What more could you want, okay? Absolutely phenomenal and unique concept, and I absolutely adore this book, and everyone should read it. Please, someone read it so I have someone to talk to about it. Okay, so we have 4 questions left. Up next we have a book you read this year that you would reread. There's so many. Any of my Elsie Silver books that I read this year. Releasing 10, any of the books in the Boys of Tommen series, because I read Taming 7 at the start of this year. Throne of Glass series, I want to reread that at some point. The Playing for Keeps series by Becca Mack. Just the Windy City series, I don't know if I've already said that. But there's just so many good books that I've read this year. The Campus Diaries series by Elle Kennedy. I loved the Campus Diaries series genuinely so much. I loved all of the characters and the couples in that. And like the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Genuinely, I had so many good reads this year that I want to reread so many of them and highlight and annotate, and I'm thinking of doing a couple of rereading vlogs later this year because I really want to reread the Windy City series, especially because the final novella in that series is coming out in next year, which I'm very excited about. So yeah, so many books that I would reread, but those are just a few of the ones that I really do want to reread. Up next is Goodreads 2025 reading goal reflection and a reading goal for 2026. So, reflection on all the books I read this year. I read a lot of phenomenal books. I had a lot more good books than I did bad ones this year. And I genuinely just absolutely adored most of the ones I finished. I finished a lot of series this year. I read a lot of books by authors who I now love and are some of my favourite authors. I've discovered new authors who I hadn't read before, who I genuinely really enjoyed. And at the start of this year, I think I set my goal to like 70 or 80 books. It's now 80 on Goodreads, but I can't remember if I changed that mid-year because I'd read so many already. I think I actually set my goal to 70 books. But I'm currently on my 91st book of the year. So I've read a lot of books this year, and I'm hoping to see if I can try and get to 100 before the end of the year. Maybe or at least get close to 100 before the end of the year. But I only have like not even 2 weeks left. I think I have like a week and a half left of the year, so trying to read 10 books in a week and a half probably isn't going to happen, but you know, who knows? Sometimes I can read 4 books in a day if I set my mind to it. I mean, that's only when I do readathons and I use audiobooks. But and a reading goal for 2026, I want to read 100 books next year because slowly over the last couple of years, the amount I read has gone up loads. I used to only read between like 20 to 25 books a year. Now I'm reading like over 90 books a year. So I think I've done pretty decently. And I found so many incredible books that I've absolutely adored. So I definitely want to read 100 books next year. And something I want to do next year is I want to cut down the amount of audiobooks I listen to. Now, to me, using audiobooks is still reading. I'm 100% for audiobooks. I love me a good audiobook. However, for the majority of this year, I mainly used audiobooks, and it made me find it really hard to read physically. And it's only been recently, in the last couple of months, that I've found my love for physical reading again. Like, I love just sticking on some music and reading a book on my Kindle, or reading a book physically. Like, the only book that I've read in its entirety physically was The Reno by Maggie Grant. I read the paperback of that book. Every other book I've read this year has either been audiobook or a Kindle, on my Kindle. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just more of a Kindle reader than I am a physical book reader. I tend to read a lot faster on my Kindle. But yeah, no, just... I definitely want to stop using audiobooks as much next year. Like, I'm still going to use them because, especially like with fantasy books, I love to immersive read with fantasy books. But I think I'm going to start maybe reading more like romance physically, or at least reading them on my Kindle, just because I enjoy that. I just find it hard sometimes, like especially if I've started a series with audiobooks, I like to continue the series with audiobooks. So yeah, but that is like my only goal really for next year, just to read more books physically and stop having audiobooks all the time. Okay, just 2 more questions next. So up next we have a book you wish you got to this year. Honestly, that definitely has to be House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. I read the last 3 books in the Throne of Glass series in January of this year. They were the first books I read this year. And then I also read the first 2 books in the Crescent City series, and I absolutely loved them. But I never ended up getting to the 3rd Crescent City book, and I don't think I'm going to be able to read it before the year is over. Because like I said, there's only like a week and a half left, as I'm filming this right now anyway. So that is definitely one that I wish I'd gotten to this year. But I'm definitely going to pick that one up next year. I also wish I'd gotten to book 3 and 4 in the Fate Hollow Academy series by, I think it's Lyra Winters. I may be wrong. If I am, then I'll put the actual name here, but I think I'm right. And I read the first 2 books of that series this year, and I genuinely really enjoyed book 1 and 2, but I never got to the last 2. So I really want to read them. And I think that's kind of it. I got to a lot of the books that I really wanted to read this year. Like, a lot of the books that were on my like 25 books in 2025, I actually read. So I've done pretty decently, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, no, I think the main ones is Crescent City and then the last 2 books in the Fate Hollow Academy series. Okay, now it's the final question that now I've finished yapping at you guys enough. We have, what will you prioritize in your 2026 reading year? So like I already said, I want to prioritize reading like books physically more than not just using audiobooks all the time. I'm still going to use audiobooks, but I don't want to just constantly use them next year like I did for the majority of this year. I also want to read more thriller books next year, just because I've genuinely enjoyed the ones that I have read this year. Like, I want to delve more into that because I genuinely enjoyed the ones that I did read. And then there's so many like series that I've been wanting to read for a while that I just haven't. So I'm thinking of like looking into reading some of them. Like, I want to read, I think it's the DC Stars series, I may be wrong, by Chelsea Curto, like to like Face Off and those ones. I want to really read that. And then there's a couple of like fantasy ones. I want to read more fantasy books next year, just because I have so many of them, and I didn't think I'd read any fantasy books, but I actually have read quite a few. But yeah, no, I want to read more fantasy next year and just basically read more of what I love, all the kind of books that I'm like addicted to. Oh, also next year, I need to stop buying so many books. As of this point right now, I bought myself 71 books this year. Now, I've read a lot of books off of my physical TBR this year. And some of the ones I bought, I'd already read. I just wanted the physical copies of them. So it's not completely terrible. However, I've just bought a lot of books this year. So next year, I really want to try and limit myself to how many books I buy, and maybe do like a goal system to be like, I can only buy 1 or 2 books after I've read like 5 to 10 of them books off of my physical TBR. Just because I slightly gotten a little bit out of hand this year with my book buying. I already mentioned I spent way too much money on books in the last couple of months. But yeah, no, that is the final question of this end of year book tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have enjoyed watching me on my YouTube this year. There will be one more video this year, but that'll be going up on December 31st, and that will be my January TBR. So I guess that's kind of my first video for 2026, but not because it's going the date it's going up. I don't know. But this is my last like proper video for this year. So I hope you guys enjoyed and have enjoyed watching my videos this year. Please like, comment and subscribe, and hit that little notification bell below so you know when I upload. I upload every Wednesday at 5 p.m. with a sit down video like this, and every Saturday at 4 p.m. with a reading vlog. I'll be back to my regularly scheduled videos from the 31st of December, and every week you will be getting 2 videos again. Thank you to everyone who's understood that I needed this break from filming, just because I was getting a little bit overwhelmed and I was losing my passion for filming videos, but I'm back and I'm ready for more reading vlogs in the new year. Yeah, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know below what some of your favorite books this year were, and I will catch you guys next time.